Do you want to know how to be more engaging? And do you want to know how to captivate your audience? Maybe right now you're giving presentations or you're in a meeting and people are not really paying attention to what you're saying. So in this video, I want to give you everything that you need to know about how to be more captivating and compelling to your audience. If we have not met before, my name is Kit Pang, and the mission here at Boston Speaks is to help you become a more confident, engaging, and persuasive speaker. And in this video, we'll be talking about exactly what you'll need to do to become the most compelling speaker in the room. So let's get started. How to captivate an audience. When it comes to captivating an audience, we first have to ask, well, what makes your speaking boring in the first place? So when I ask you that question, what makes your speaking, okay, maybe not your speaking, but other people's speaking, most people will think it's a lot of data. It's, for example, they don't have any good stories. They're not enthusiastic. They don't like speaking. Maybe they avoid speaking and they don't want to give it their all when they're speaking. Maybe again, it's going back to slide after slide is always data, 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 data. It could be their voice. They're speaking very monotone. At every new level, there's a new devil. So maybe you worked on your voice and then it's your content is not compelling enough. Or maybe you have good content and then it's your voice that's boring everyone to sleep. So we all have different challenges that makes our speaking less engaging. And so what do you need to do to captivate your audience? You need to think of these three key things. One, are you talking to the head, right? This is the place of reason. People like to analyze things. If it doesn't make sense for them, they won't listen. Second, are you talking to the heart? This is the place of emotion. You see, a lot of people, they are very analytical and they sometimes don't know how to speak to the heart because it's not natural for them. And then third, are you speaking to the gut? And this is a place of instinct, right? So if you speak to the head, heart, and gut, you're going to become a very captivating speaker. And let me show you exactly how to speak to all of these three different areas. I will say that most people will stick within the head, the analytical, the place of reasoning. That's why you're seeing a lot of data, data, data. But the opposite does happen when people try to speak to the heart too much. Maybe you've seen a speaker and all they told were stories after stories after stories after stories. And you're saying to yourself, what's the point of the story? I mean, it was sad 10 minutes ago, but right now you're telling too many analogies, too many similes, too many stories. So to be a good captivating speaker, we need to know how to speak with all these different ranges because your audience, some of them, they are more analytical. Some of them, they react more to emotions. Some of them, they just want a gut feeling that they want to listen to you. So let me give an example of how to do all of this pretty soon. But I want to talk about one of the most important things when it comes to all three. And that is what we call storytelling. Why do you need to tell stories and why should you practice stories? Because stories are memorable, stories are persuasive, and at the end of the day, stories are human. Well, what exactly do I mean by that? Stories are memorable, stories are persuasive, stories are human. You see, this is your brain on data. You see that only two areas light up, the language comprehension and the language processing side of things. But when your brain is on stories, have you ever heard a story, or as some people have told me this before, they were hearing a story and they were, for example, talking about like pizza. And the person can start smelling the cheese pizza and just imagining what that cheese pizza will taste like. Maybe having that cheese pizza in their hand, right? They started imagining what the pizza would taste like, what it smells like, what it looks like. And that's why when your brain is hearing a story, it just lights up more. It becomes, again, like I said earlier, it becomes more memorable. It's more persuasive. And at the end of the day, it is just more human. So let me tell you a quick story. This is our lovely cat, Kiwi. And we adopted Kiwi maybe a few years ago. I'm not sure if any of you have cats, but we got Kiwi. And when we got her at the house, she was always by the window. And so we thought that Kiwi felt lonely. So we went to the adoption center and we got two more cats. This is Inky on the top and Lily on the right. Now, this was the first time we had 3 cats. And the very first week when we brought them home, now I'm not sure if any of you have any cats or dogs, but they had a bad introduction. And so when they had that bad introduction, it was basically when imagine me and you were to meet the first time and I punch you in your face. That's how the cats felt like, right? So Kiwi and Inky and Lily, right? They were just butting heads all of the time, and I was going, to this day, they still can't be in a room together. I went to the library. I got stacks of books on how to try to get the cats to get along, but I couldn't figure out how to. So I eventually had to call a cat whisperer. And this lady was from Texas. We wanted the very best. Okay. My wife and I, we wanted the very best. Well, okay. It was mostly me. I wanted the very best. And so we got the cat whisperer. And we also went to the vet. And they said that Inky and Lily, they had to go take a pill because they got too scared and too frightful, so that when they saw Kiwi, they were very territorial, and because of fear, they wanted to just attack each other. And so, have you ever tried to give a cat a pill? It's the hardest thing ever. They said, "Oh, put some chicken on it, put some food on it. They'll just lick it right up." Now cats can smell those pills from a miles away. So I got the pill, put the chicken food on it. Lily came over, was smelling it, and then just went away. She knew it was a pill. And then someone, I couldn't figure it out. So I think my wife showed me an Instagram video where they would put a pill to the cat's mouth and pop it in. I couldn't do it. But then I finally found out that there's something called pill pockets. It's a animal treat where you can put the pill inside the treat. So I got the salmon flavor or whatever, tuna flavor, put the pill inside the treat, and I threw it over to Lily. And I remember that she just magically ate it up, and Inky too. They magically ate it up, and it was like the best day ever. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is because you see that pill is like information, right? Take it. It's good for you. Here's what research is saying. Why don't you want it? This is what research is good. This pill, this fact is good for you. Here's everything you need to know. That pill pocket now is like a good story. If you know how to wrap your facts around a good story, people are more likely to digest it and even want it. And so here's what it basically means. We are 22 times more likely to remember a fact when it has been wrapped around a good story. So if you want to get other people to remember what you're saying, you want to be a more persuasive leader, you need to be able to tell more stories. If you want to captivate more people, they can't remember your facts at the end of the day if we give them too much. But if you wrap everything around a good story, it will become a lot more memorable. I mean, this is what giving people a lot of facts is like. We're giving them a bunch of encyclopedia. And what do people do? They freak out and they say, it's too much. So what's the right thing to do? Even if we give them all the information, we're saying to them, hey, take all this information, memorize it, just do what you need to do. Or can we make it more captivating and not saying entertaining as in ha entertaining, but more captivating so they are more willing to want to remember the information. So what is the right thing to do? Imagine someone is giving you a PowerPoint presentation and you have to sit there for an hour wishing that it would end every single minute. That will not do good for your career. That will not do good for your leadership. And at the end of the day, people will start dreading you when they know that you'll be coming up next to speak, right? And so some people also say to me, well, Kit, I'm not good at telling stories. And I have to be honest, storytelling is a lot like these homemade strawberries. So here's what I mean, okay? You see these homemade strawberries on Google and you say, hey, I want to make those strawberries too. But then when you make it, do you know what happens? It flops, just like the one on the right. So I have to be honest with you. We see these great storytellers on TV, or these great storytellers, and the people that we admire. They're like, wow, they're great storytellers. But when we try to tell a story, it's like the strawberries on the right. It doesn't work. Well, I want you to know that telling stories is an art form, just like making these strawberries right now, right? Don't quit if you're just flopping. I mean, just look at these, look at these strawberries. Don't quit if your stories are coming out and they're not the best in the very first place. Storytelling is an art form, and you can get better and better and better at it if you keep on deciding to work at it. Now, here's what I think I know about you. If you're watching this right now, then I know that improving your communication and presentation skills are important to you, and you want to be a better leader. Perhaps you want to rise in your career. Perhaps you want to make more sales, or perhaps you want to just influence people. But I do know that you're taking this time to personally invest in yourself. And so one of the best things that you can do if you want to become a better leader, communicator, be more successful, is to be able to tell effective stories. Because what's the cost of not telling stories? Here are the most important ones, right? Our important work will not be remembered. How many times have you sat in a meeting? They maybe prepped 2 weeks for it, but then after the meeting, you never think about or look at their information again, right? We might come off as boring. There's no engagement. People are just waiting to end this meeting or go on to the next thing, not being able to make people buy in or believe in our ideas. We put so much hard work into what we do, and if people don't buy in, well, what did we really accomplish? And of course, what's the cost of not telling stories? Is our leadership and our expertise, being an expert in our field, helping others lead others, and helping others grow, helping the organization grow. There's a big cost in not telling stories. If we just keep on, I'm not saying just telling information is bad, but if we don't know how to tell information and stories, then we can up our game a little bit, okay? Now, the reason I told you that story, now you see these, it's called the persuasive language patterns. And I wanted to use exactly what I told you earlier about storytelling as only one example. All of these persuasive language patterns are actually proven to make people more charismatic and more influential. And so, there were many studies. They gave these language patterns to leaders for like a few months. They said, hey, use these language patterns versus the ones that don't use these language patterns. The ones that were using these language patterns were just rated more influential and more captivating at the end of the day. So I was actually using, I'm going to show you my slides now. I was actually using the slides from the beginning to what's the cost of not storytelling, and I was including many of these persuasive language patterns. And so the key, ladies and gentlemen, to being more captivating, if you're here today, how to captivate an audience, right? It is storytelling, but this is the key to making your content a lot more engaging. But let me show you how I used it, and then I want to go through some of the things that you can practice on for each one of this. Okay, so this is one of the. It's not mind blowing. We all have heard of these things. For example, ask questions. Yes, dummy. It's so easy to ask. No. How often do you ask questions when you give a presentation, right? Maybe you ask a lot, maybe you ask none. Maybe you provide a lot of rational analysis, maybe you do none. Like sometimes I never provide rational analysis, but okay, let me go all the way back to this, right? I want to give examples. So what makes your speaking boring? The very first thing that I started with was a question. Now, do you see what's next? You see 1, 2, and 3. As you can see, the power of 3. Now, what does that mean, the power of 3? Well, I did it two ways, actually, the power of 3. There are 3 things that you see, right? 1, 2, and 3. And I want to talk about all 3 of them. Later on, I'll be talking about all 3 of them. But it could be, for example, you've heard of real estate is location, location, location. That's the power of 3 as well. So I'm going to flip through these slides and show you exactly what I was doing with all of them. So why should you practice storytelling, right? This is another example of the power of 3, right? 1, stories are memorable. 2, stories are persuasive. And 3, stories are human. Next, I provide rational analysis. Let me close this tab up here. Next, I provided rational analysis. As you can see, this is your brain on data, and this is your brain on stories. Also, this is a contrast. Well, what is a contrast? Is think of pros and cons, before and after, this or the other. This is a contrast, right? This is your brain on data, and this is your brain on stories. What's the next thing I did? I told a story. That's it. A personal story. Also, when you tell stories, this is one of the most important things you have to know. You have to give a point to your story. You see how my story was very, it's random. The story is random. It's about my cats. But I'm tying it back to storytelling. So you need to have a point to your stories and all of these PLPs actually. Okay, what did I do next? I expressed moral conviction. So moral conviction is what's the right thing to do? And I said, do we really want to bore people to death? Is that the right thing to do? Homemade strawberries. Now, this is a simile plus a contrast. Okay, and I'm also expressing empathy with the group, and I'm also giving you confidence. There's a bunch of things I did with this, right? Simile is I'm comparing this as saying storytelling is like strawberries. We flop. But I am also saying things like, don't quit on this. Even if you flop, you can do it. It's a craft. You have to master the art of speaking, and you can do it. Don't quit on the first one. I believe in you, right? Expressing empathy with the group. I'm setting more confidence. And then the next slide is, what do I think I know about you? I'm trying to express empathy. I'm trying to express what you want. I know some of you want to become better leaders, better communicators. You're here investing in yourself. I have confidence in you, right? Demonstrate pain and gain. So what's the cost of not telling a story? And what can we gain from telling stories? Do you all see how powerful this is right now? So persuasive language patterns. Now, earlier, I'm going to come back. Earlier, you know how I said we need to talk to the head, the heart, and the gut? Well, using these methods, that's exactly how you speak to the head, heart, and gut. I mean, things are so easy nowadays. You don't even have to think that much. Of course, you do have to work through these process, but here are the exact things that you can use to speak to the head, speak to the heart, and speak to the gut. I even broke it down for you. Now, head, right? Now, I'm going to go through each one of these today. Head. Most of us, we provide rational analysis, like research, case study, XYZ. Compare and contrast, right? Before and after. You ever seen those fitness commercials? Before they lost weight, after they lost weight, or the pros and the cons, or some of the comparisons that I did earlier. Ask a question. You want other people to start thinking and answering. The power of 3. Now, again, some of these you can say, oh, isn't that emotion? Isn't that more of a gut? Yes, they can go back and forth, but I'm saying mostly, if I were to put them in one area, it'll be these areas. The power of 3, right? Real estate is location, location, location. Or I want to talk about head, emotion, and gut. Head, heart, and gut, right? Metaphors, similes, and analogies. More of the emotional side. Telling stories, and of course, express an empathy, emotion, and demonstrate pain and gain. What can we lose right now, and what can we hope for? Now, gut is that instinct, right? When we imagine the last time let's say you're going to buy like a hamburger, and the store is closing in 10 minutes. Well, it's your body is taking over. It's a gut feeling. It's just you have to do it right now. Okay, expressing more conviction. Right? What's the right thing to do? What are our values? That's what it's telling us. So it will give you that gut feeling, and it'll make you say, you know what, my gut is saying that's right too. Setting high goals and instilling confidence. And so when someone sets high goals and instill confidence in you, you kind of have that gut feeling and thinking, oh, yeah, right. It just feels right. So these persuasive language patterns, right? You're talking to the head, talking to the heart, and talking to the gut. Now I'm going to break down. You might want to review this a little bit later, but some of you might be asking, well, how the heck are we going to exactly use these things? Well, let's talk about it right now. If you want to be a more captivating speaker, then next time you go into your presentation or a meeting, you just have to throw in some of these. You see what I did earlier with storytelling. It actually doesn't matter what I threw in. It will just become a lot more captivating if you throw these things in. It's almost guaranteed. So how do you use them? We first have to think about the point. You need to have a point to all of these things. Now, if you don't have a point, people will be wondering, why did you tell that story? Why did you give that comparison? Like, what is it for, right? What is it for? So you need to have a point. So I want to give some examples. And right now, to give examples first, we're going to talk about the head side of things, provide rational analysis, compare and contrast, ask questions, and the power of three. So the example is, this is the point, okay? Using PLPs will help you captivate your audience. Let me give you three reasons why, okay? The power, I just used the power of three. Let me give you three reasons why. Again, I'm using all the head PLPs right now. Well, before I dive into the reasons, I want to ask you, were you ever talking to someone and you didn't understand what they were saying because of the jargon they were using? Well, that's because they have a curse of knowledge and they are so much of an expert, they forget that you don't even know the language patterns or the language or the lingo that they understand, right? Okay, so as you can see, of course, I'm putting question down here. Well, PLPs, they actually help you speak at a grade level of 5 to 12. Well, you might be thinking, why do I want to speak at this grade level of 5 to 12? Well, the world's smartest speakers, actually, that's what they speak at a level of 5 to 12. As you can see, maybe there are some leaders that you know, like Dalai Lama or Barack Obama, they speak at an 8th grade level, right? Tim Cook, Warren Buffett, at a 7.6. Now, there's a bunch of tests to do this. So when you are using these PLPs, they actually help you go back and speak at these grade levels because it's easier to understand. Now, sometimes as technical experts, this will help us get out of our head and help people understand what we're talking about. And next, is it readable? So here's a quick test, right? To make sure that you're speaking at this grade level. You can go to Google and just type in, for example, readability test. So if you think you are someone that's speaking and no one understands what the heck you're talking about, paste your text here. So let me see, I'm going to paste. Let's see what's, this works in text and speech as well. So as you can see, oh yeah, this is a 6th grade level. That's pretty good, right? Grade A. So here's a few simple tests that you can take, and using PLPs will, we work hard to up our level, our speaking level, but using these PLPs will put you right back at grade level 5 and 12, making it more understandable for your audience at the end of the day. And next, PLPs are the best things for you is because they offer variety. Usually our attention span is so small nowadays, we just lose attention just like that. I mean, imagine you have someone talking on and on and on and on for an hour about the same thing, all data, 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 data. That's when it becomes very boring. And that's why, John Medina at the University of Washington School of Medicine said, given a presentation of moderately interesting content, your audience attention will plummet to near zero after 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Now, here's the thing. As you can see, I'm using contrast here. This is what most presentations or meetings are like. Here's what I'm going to be talking about, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then not only is this the slide that's like that, every single slide is like that. So as you can see, some of the things that I was doing, there's my slide on the right, to just use me as an example of how using because I was using the PLPs. You see how every single slide is different? Because the PLPs will give you variety. If you just go one from another to another, it'll help your audience stay in touch and it'll help you become more engaging and captivating at the end of the day. Now, some people ask, well, Kit, how can I tell stories on every single slide? And do you know what I say to them? I look at their slides or what they say. And do you know what all of the slides are like? All of the slides are like the one on the left. And they asked me, Kit, how many times can I put in stories? And I said, if all your slides are data, 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 right? You can even put data, story, data, 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 story, data, data, or if you want to be risky, story, 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 data, story, story, right? Or a three-part list, express more conviction, story. You see how you can just pick any one of these actually and just throw them in. But I'm not saying do that. You have to practice on the different ways of working that, okay? And lastly, PLPs, you speak to the head, heart, and gut. So you reach out to an audience who's more analytical. You'll reach out to an audience who wants to build more relationships. And you'll reach out to an audience that wants to trust and build relationships with you that will talk to the gut level. So that was the example. I'm just going to go back real quick of using how to provide rational analysis, compare and contrast, ask questions in the power of three. Right? I used all of them just back and forth. I did not use, I'm sorry, let me go back. Right? I was just speaking to the head, and head. Right? As you can see, providing rational analysis, I was just using that quick chart over there and say, okay, here's where all the leaders are speaking at. Comparing and contrasting, that's when I was giving a demonstration of, well, these are what boring slides look like. And this is what a variety looks like, right? Asking questions at the beginning, using the power of three again. So next, let's talk about, and I hope you're liking this so far. Let's talk about the emotion side of things, okay? Metaphors, similes, and analogies. How to tell stories, and how do we express empathy? Now, when it comes to metaphors, similes, and analogies, some of us we might be thinking, well, what's the difference between all of them? Well, let's actually practice right now. Okay, so take out your books, take out your pen. You can even put it in the chat right now. This is your turn. So okay, we're gonna practice this, and I'll give some examples. So metaphor. Just say this: my friend, cat or dog, or you can say my spouse, my kid. Okay, and do it right now. My cat is a pig. Okay. Similarly, you're using the word like. So my friend, cat, or dog, right? My cat is like a pig. Now, aren't you saying they're the same thing? Okay. Well, you just said my cat is a pig, and now you're saying my cat is like a pig. I'm gonna go through that later. Okay. So analogy: my cat is like a pig because whenever she eats, all her food goes everywhere. Now, what's the difference between metaphor, simile, and analogies? Okay, and this is one of the best definitions that I found from Robert Lee Bruinov. A metaphor is something. So you're sure that is something. Okay, time is a thief. My cat is a pig. Okay, it is something. A simile is like something. Okay, time is like a thief. My cat is like a pig. Even though they're very similar, we're talking about the same thing, but they're expressed differently. Analogy explains how one thing is being like another, which helps explain them both. And we'll go into this some more, right? Time is like a thief in that thieves steals physical objects and time steals moments in our lives. So basically, you're just explaining what your metaphor or simile means. So I'm going to give more examples of this. Okay, simile is a phrase. It's a phrase using the word like or as that compares one thing with another thing to make it more vivid. So while a metaphor claims a penguin is a panda, a simile would claim a penguin is like a panda, or that a penguin is as colorful as a panda. So, okay, so back to you again. I want you to give this a different try. I switched up the simile. So, metaphor: my cat is a princess. My cat is as neat and clean as a princess. Oh, you see what I did there, right? I can even say I could have said my cat is like a princess, but right now I chose to say, which is still a simile, right? Like or is as. My cat is as clean as a princess. Analogy: my cat is like a princess because whenever she eats, it's very clean. Now, I'm not sure if princess has never met a princess in real life, so I'm not sure if they really do eat clean. Maybe they eat like a snob, which is like my cat. Okay. So I want you to try this out right now. You can type it in the comments or write it down in your notes, right? My friend, you can talk about your significant other or your kid. My kid is XYZ, right? My kid is as whatever as a boom. So we have to get better and better and better at using similes, metaphors, or analogies. Now, you don't all have to use them every single time. So whenever I talk about the PLPs, you kind of want to think of them like you are a magician. You know how sometimes some magicians, they just do card tricks, and some magicians, they never do card tricks, and all they do are escape the box kind of magic tricks. These PLPs are kind of like that. Some people, they're great at telling stories. Some people, they can just use contrast all day long. So I want to go into storytelling now. So what is storytelling? Let me tell you two ways of telling stories. There's recap stories and there's situational stories. Well, what do I mean by recap stories? So let's say I go to YouTube and we want to watch a recap of Stranger Things on Netflix. Hey, look, that's me. So if we want to watch a recap of Stranger Things, season 1 and 2, and we're gonna say it better be short. It better be 5 minutes long. If it's an hour long, I don't have time for that. I want to watch the real episode. So a recap story, like sometimes how we tell stories, are more of like bullet points. Here's what happened 5 years ago, right? Here's what happened in this scene. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. When you are in the presence of a recap story, you only want it for informational purposes. Just like a recap story, we just want to find out what is happening. Now, a situational story is when we're actually watching the Netflix show. When we're actually watching the Netflix show, we're going to think, for example, I'm just bringing up some. Oh, okay, look, right. This boy, they were about to kiss, and when we're watching the show, do you know what happens? We get to hear what the characters are thinking, acting, what they are saying based off of what they're seeing. For example, they were like, "Oh, hey, don't kiss each other. You can't do that." And no, we'll see how they act. We'll see how they feel. Right? When we're watching a recap, we only get the informational side of things. When we're telling a story, however, you'll get to see how. Again, let me go back to my cat story. When I'm telling my cat story, you can hear the expression in my voice, right? I was telling all these other things like, oh man, the first time they met each other, it's like punching each other in the face. I'm like, we want to get the best cat whisperer. You see how I'm reacting to the situation at hand? That's what a great story does. It goes into a situation. So there are different types of stories that are situational. Okay, let me go back to the storytelling slide. When you're telling a situational story, you can tell a personal story, you can tell a story about other people, or you can tell more of a case study. Now, here's the thing. When you're telling more of a personal story, you can talk about your experience and your opinions based off of the situation that's happening. When you're talking about a story about other people, say the same thing, right? You can say, he was thinking, he was seeing, that's why he was doing this, and that's what he learned from it. Again, all of this, you need to have a point to your storytelling. Now, case studies. Here's an example. Some UX designers, they were giving their participants a survey to fill out. Yes, they can tell about what the survey provided, but they can also tell, hey, when we were giving these surveys to participants, I can tell the expression on their faces that they did not like taking these surveys. Like this one time, this person was filling out the survey and all they were doing was grunting. Oh, you see how I'm adding in more of like, oh, this last time I saw this person and here's what I was thinking about the surveys they told. So you're adding more reaction. Think about it that way, more reaction to what's actually happening around you instead of this is what happened. This is all just facts of 5 years ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Okay. So that's a little bit about storytelling. Of course, there's a lot more to storytelling. People are writing books about this. So just know that this is just touching on the surface of it. So let's talk about expressing empathy. You want to think about their perspectives and how they're feeling. So basically, you say these things. I know you care about, and that's why. Oh, this typo. And what's why? And that's why. And that's why X, Y, Z. So look, I know that you're on this webinar because you care about your professional growth. And that's why working on these PLPs will help you grow faster as a leader. Now, here's the thing. Some people will say, well, if that's not what I care about, then you're getting, no, here's the thing. Even if you say something that might be completely wrong, you're stirring up their emotion, and they will tell you, no, that's not what I think. Now here's the thing. That's a good thing, because now you can be a good listener and really try to understand them. Okay? People don't care about how much you know until they know about how much you care. So eventually, you do want to say the right things. Hopefully, you say the right things every time because you care about them. I'm not saying to use these and be fake, right? I know you care about improving as a speaker. That's why you're still watching this right now. You want to be authentic. I'm not saying be fake. You want to be authentic. The challenges that you could be facing, or maybe you're on Zoom right now and people are not engaging with you. It's hard to get feedback. Maybe you think you're boring. Maybe you think you're not captivating people's attention. And we can solve that by the PLPs. Now, the key to this are the challenges that you could be facing, right? This is going to sound very plain, but you want to say out loud what they're thinking about. Because if you do, your audience will say, wow, how do they know so much about me? It feels like they're just speaking directly to me. Okay, that's the key. Most people, even though you know what they're thinking about, when you say it out loud, your audience will say, wow, you really understand me and you're really talking to me. Okay, just say it out loud. You may be thinking, okay, now this is let's say we're going to a board meeting. You might, and now I know some of you might be thinking that we're not making any money. Okay, it's so this is also something that you need to get better at, because at first you might be scared of, wow, I don't want to say what they're thinking. Well, if you're that good of a speaker and you really care about them, you want to talk about things from their perspective and you want to show them that you understand, right? Now you might be thinking, now I have all of these PLPs to practice and I have no time to practice it. Are you thinking one of these things? Well, let me tell you how to work. Okay, so get more of what are they thinking about, and how can I say that out loud? And a question you might have is, well, how do I best use this, or how do I best practice the PLPs this coming week? Okay, well, you told me that you want, of course you didn't tell me, but I know you might be thinking that you want to be the best leader, you want to be the best speaker, even though you didn't say that out loud. You want to be number one, or you just want to improve yourself. Well, you have to really make a commitment to this, and you have to dedicate. Now, you see how all of these sentences, I'm speaking from your perspective. Okay, so the next time you go do a presentation, you're in a meeting, just plop one of these things and get better and better and better and at it each time. You can say these things at the very beginning of your meeting or your presentation and get them out the way, but it's increasing the reps to this, right? If we're playing baseball, we're going to hit that ball over and over. If you want to get better at expressing empathy, well, here are the key statements. Well, let's talk about demonstrate pain and gain. These are only two different phrases to say. Demonstrating pain and gain is, what do we have to lose and what can we hope to gain? You are a good speaker and you can demonstrate pain and gain if you can tell us what the situation we're facing right now and what we can do or what we can look forward to. You see how this is just not talking about information. They're talking about where are we now, where do we want to go. The cost of us not doing this, right? Right now, the cost of us, or the situation, okay, the cost of us not telling stories is that we're sharing information on our weekly meetings and no one remembers what we're saying. The opportunity of sharing stories can help us be better leaders, can help us make help us make more money, can help us be more memorable, and help us have more fun when we speak. Now, if we're just day to day telling people information, that's what's exactly happening right now. But maybe 1 year from now, if you're thinking, I want to be the best speaker, can you imagine yourself telling stories and everyone is their ears are perked up and they're just listening to you every single word? Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to talk about what's happening now and what can happen in the future. You want to be a speaker that can paint this image. Think of yourself as a painter, and you are painting with your words, and people can see this. Oh, this is what's happening right now. And you can also paint a vision of what they can imagine for in the future. Okay, so the two phrases that you can use: the cost of not doing this right now, and look at the opportunity it can bring us if we do this. So that's more of the emotional side, right? Metaphors, similes, analogies, telling stories, expressing empathies, demonstrating pain and gain. And lastly, if you want to be more captivating and engaging as a speaker, you have to include talking to the gut, urgency, scarcity, expressing more conviction, setting high goals, and instilling confidence. I want to give you the exact phrases that you can use, right? Urgency and scarcity is, why do it now? Now, many of you might be thinking, okay, see what I'm doing there? I'm trying to get into what you're thinking about. Isn't this the same thing as pain and gain? Well, no. When this is real, it is urgency and scarcity. Just like, how many people are buying toilet paper when COVID hit? Well, it's urgent. Well, it became urgent in their mind, and it became a scarcity because all the toilet paper is going on. And what if we get on a shutdown and we can't buy any more toilet paper? Okay, if we don't do this now, it will not be available later because everyone will buy it. Okay, if we do this now, we can feel more safe instead of waiting till later where we can lose the opportunity to get this toilet paper. So urgency and scarcity, you have to be creative in thinking about this, right? You have to tell people why should we act now? Again, I'm not being fake. There is real urgency and scarcity if it means real to you. Or sometimes, for example, let's say a program is about to close. Okay, if you sign up for my program, it will close by the end of midnight, and I will actually really close it so no one else can come in. Or maybe it's a deadline. If we don't get this deadline in, they're going to make a decision by Monday. So that's why we have to do this now, or else we'll lose this. It is very close to pain and gain, but it's that feeling of, oh, we have to do this now, or therefore we'll lose out. Or maybe there's only a limited supply left. Okay, so if we don't do this now, it will not be available later because, or if we do this now, we can gain this instead of waiting till later where we can lose all of this. Okay, expressing more conviction. What's the right thing to do? The right thing to do is, look, the wrong thing to do is, one of our values as an organization is communication. And that's why we can't be frustrated at each other, because if we really believe in our values, and maybe that's why we work here, of communication, let's really talk this out as individuals, right? Expressing more conviction. This is kind of saying there is a bigger power to what we're saying. Now, if you want to captivate people, you talk to their bigger power, okay? Not your bigger power, their bigger power. If the right thing to do, if the right thing for them is to be honest, well, you can say, I know honestly, being honest is one of your values. And last week, this one thing that you said, it made me not trust you as much. Okay, so the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, what's our values, and are we doing the right thing? And setting high goals and instilling confidence is what you want to say, right? You want to believe in others. Think about it this way. You want to believe in others more than they believe in themselves. Now, I'm not reading these on the bottom yet because I want to talk to you and say, these PLPs, I am 110% confident. If you take one of these PLPs, let's say ask questions, as simple as that, and you practice that throughout your week, you put more questions in throughout your presentation, you will have a higher chance of captivating your audience. If you add 2 of them in, the power of 3, telling the story, and even providing rational analysis, you'll engage and captivate your audience like no one else. Okay, look, and I really do believe that 100%. That's why I'm honestly saying I want to set high goals for you. I want to instill confidence in you that you can be the speaker that you want it to be and more. So here are some of the things that you can do and believe and say. You can do this. We can do this. You can think of a fitness coach. Hey, if you're thinking of 8 push-ups, you can do 10. Yeah, you can do it, right? Keep on doing it. You got it, right? We need to set out to, set higher goals. Look, today, we need to set out to become the best communicators that we can be. We can't be lazy anymore in how we communicate because we're leaders. If we want to be better leaders, then communication skills is one of the best skills that we need to improve on. And the only focus we should have is working on our PLPs. So setting high goals for people, you make it easier for them to believe in themselves. So again, you believe in others more than they believe in themselves. So I hope that you all liked everything that I talked about today. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe for more content just like this. And I want to open this up for any Q&A that you might have. This is a topic that I love talking about when it comes to how do you actually become more captivating and more persuasive? Because when I was younger, I thought storytelling was not for me. I thought I didn't have any stories. It wasn't until I looked into speaking more, reading more books about speaking, actually practicing the art of speaking, that I found out that, yeah, I can be captivating. I can be a good storyteller if I do these things, right? It's not rocket science. Sometimes it's just not the way we speak. For example, let's say I'm going back to expressing moral conviction. We may not say every single day, our values are saying this, or this is the right thing to do. It's another way to say it. So if you want to improve your captivating vocabulary, it is these PLPs. So I hope that you all enjoy this content today. That is all I have for you. Again, subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. And I just want to say to everyone, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you all soon. Bye-bye.